Good morning, beautiful people of the Center for Spiritual Living. So last Wednesday, we began our own version of, I guess I would call it a Lent-like observation. As some of you may know, next week, Wednesday, I believe it is, the Catholic world begins their practice of Lent. Well, we do something similar at the Center for Spiritual Living. It's spiritual fasting, where we make it our business to abstain from self-defeating thoughts for a period of time. And to support that practice, we have created a booklet which you can download from our website for free. The instructions are on your bulletin that you have in your hand. You just go to our website, www.cslsr.org, and right there under the support menu item, you'll be able to download this. And you can also subscribe to the online blog where you can receive each day's idea in your mailbox every day. And we've titled the entries just day 1, day 2, day 3. So whether you start now or next week, you can be on your own schedule. We also, if some people prefer a hard copy, we've made them available at our Stepping Stones bookstore for the cost of printing it. I think it's $2, so you can get that easily and conveniently at the bookstore as well. Now, the idea for spiritual fasting is to displace, as I said, self-critical, self-defeating, those kind of thoughts, but to displace them by first giving your mind something constructive to dwell upon, a good, tasty, yummy morsel of spiritual idea to dwell upon once or twice a day. That's the idea. Now, here's the inspiration that comes from our founder, and won't you read it with me? It goes like this. 15 minutes twice each day is time enough to spend in order to demonstrate anything, but the rest of the time ought to be spent constructively. That is, we must stop all negative thinking and give over all wrong thought. Wow, there's a lot in that paragraph. I think is a good point. It's no good if you and I spend the morning and read something lovely and constructive like these beautiful thoughts in the booklet, and then we spend the rest of the day complaining about why it isn't so. It undoes the work. That's the first good idea. So we're to give up all negative thinking? Wow, that's intense. I mean, I don't know if it's reasonable. Give up all negative thinking? It's a bit overwhelming as a task as I read that. Maybe the point is to start to see it for what it is, to see negative thinking, and then to question whether or not the content of the negative thinking is accurate. And maybe that way is the way that you and I do put an end to negative thinking. So here's the theory. The menu is like this. First of all, the first most important step is to notice that it's happening. You see, there was a time when I wouldn't notice that it's happening. First thing, notice it's happening. Second step is to interrupt it politely. Excuse me, you say. Then the third step is to question it carefully, systematically. And then the fourth step is to let our divine nature then express itself instead. So here's what it says together. The only reason we are limited is that we have not allowed the divine within us to more completely express itself. So what is my divine nature that I'm looking to let express through me? I've been having a love affair with the Science of Mind textbook, which we use for many of our classes, because at the end of it, there's a glossary of terms with short definitions that, when you can't remember precisely what a thing means at the center, you can look it up. So I looked up what is divine nature. Divine nature, it says, is the true nature of all things. True. Not the made-up nature. See, because spiritual living is about peeling away all of that made-up stuff to get to the true nature. Find your true, innocent, beautiful, creative, original self. It's under all of the other stuff. You do realize, don't you, that you and I can make up things that aren't true or accurate. You realize that? All right. If not, I've got a surprise for you. It's all made up. I had an experience of that several years ago at the airport, where I do the majority of my spiritual learning. I was at the airport, and so many people mentioned how much they got out of that story that I tell it over and over again. I had the experience of discovering how skillful my mind is at making a scene when none is necessary. Yeah. So it's the story about the man at the airport who tried to take my place in line. Right? So maybe you've heard it once or 7 times. And it goes something like this. There I am. I'm standing at the airport in line waiting to get on the plane. And the man behind me, for some reason, he takes a few steps when my attention is diverted to something and steps in the place in front of me. In line. Now I invite you to visit my mind at the moment that this is happening. Maybe your mind does similar things. It starts to make a scene. It starts to arm for war. My mind is talking to me at this moment, saying, somebody is trying to take your good. Outrage, outrage, alarm. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes that sort of thing really does happen. People do try to take other people's good. But in terms of world problems, this situation is a minor setback. A statement with which my mind does not agree. It sees it differently. Have you seen the video that's going around on the internet recently? It's called First World Problems, read by Third World People. Oh my gosh. It's made by the organization Water is Life. It's to ironically focus on the really critical issue of clean water in the world. And the way they do that is they've enlisted people in Haiti, children and adults, standing in, sometimes they're broken down homes, enlisted them to read the everyday gripes and minor irritations that people in first world countries post on Twitter. So there they are, the Haitians, and they're reading, I hate it when my neighbor turns their Wi-Fi off. Or, I hate it when my phone charger doesn't reach my bed. I hate it when I leave my washing in the washer too long and it begins to smell. I hate it when my mint gum makes my ice water taste too cold. I hate it when people try to take my place in line. If the thing that is causing me the most stress in my life is one of those, my life must be pretty awesome. That's right. Oh, when mind is unexamined, when my mind is unexamined, it makes a scene when no scene is necessary. Maybe that's the question for today. Are you making a scene somewhere in your mind where you oughtn't to be, or where one isn't necessary? Anyway, back to the story of the man at the airport, shall we? Because there I am behind him now, with my negative thinking. So fortunately, I learned at the Center for Spiritual Living to notice that negative thinking is happening, and the number one thing to do with that is to press the pause button before acting. Examine before acting. All right? Because before I learned that, I wouldn't notice that negative thinking was taking over. And then so I would just explode internally, and very soon that exploded externally because I was so busy believing my negative thinking. I believed it. I believed it was accurate. I believed it was important. I believed it was credible. I believed it was urgent and justifiable. Only later I discovered that the angry voice can almost never be trusted for accuracy. Actually, I'd say always can't be trusted for accuracy. I think. I'm going to look at that. Anyway, at the airport behind this gentleman, I'm starting to make up angry stories in my mind about him. What kind of person he is. Characterless. And what he deserved. And who was going to deliver it. The sort of thing that people like him care about themselves, not other people. And none of it I had verified. So I did what I'd been taught to do with negative thinking. Examine it by starting as best as I can with the facts, right? Start with the facts. Rule number 1, when experiencing negative inner war, press the pause button and start examining the facts as best as you are able. Not the story, the facts, which is a tricky thing. So I started. What are the facts? I am at the airport. I think. As far as I know. I mean, I'm standing somewhere in time and space. I know that. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm floating around on a little blue planet somewhere. And I don't really know where that is. And I don't know where it's going. Other than that, I'm right here and now. I breathe and I notice the calmness that comes with getting clear. I don't even know where I am. Right? So I carry on. I don't know where I am, and yet I appear to have everything I shall ever need. Except for that space 2 steps ahead of me. Which, when I think about it, it can't be possible. That position on the carpet represents my ultimate good. I breathe. I'm starting to let things be, and I can feel the relief washing over me. That is until my mind hurriedly says to me, "It's a question of integrity, you fool." It's talking to me. Does yours do that? And I feel myself start to slip back into the angry voice again and its world of inaccuracies. So I say to it, interrupting politely, "No, gently, I'm going to return to the consideration of the moment. Where am I? What do I know? To see if I know anything." Here's what I think I know. I think that I'm in the right place at the right time, always engaged in the right activity. And I think that could be true for everybody. And with that in mind, I'm going to try and get clear. And as soon as I get clear that there are no enemy images under this, then I'll speak. As soon as I get clear that in a universe that works for me, no one can take my good, then I'll speak. You see, because I'm not arming for war, I'm preparing for heart-open communication. Because when I'm clear, then I can speak effectively, precisely, strongly. I don't have to become a doormat, but I have to know where I'm speaking from. So now, because my mind is on the lookout for truth, I can't speak yet. Because I have to check everything I'm going to say for accuracy. I might want to say, "That's my spot on the carpet." Not so much. I might want to say, "I noticed you stepped ahead of me." Well, that's accurate. Not sure if it's helpful. I might want to say, "I don't want you to step ahead of me." But I'm actually not clear on that. I think I'm supposed to be indignant. Or maybe I want to say, "You're going to get on the plane before me, and that makes me unhappy." But when I really check in, I'm fine. I'm very happy. I might want to say, "I'm distressed because..." But now I can't complete the sentence, because the more I look at it, I see there's less and less to be distressed about. The breath. Now, I'm not kidding. While I'm doing all of this mentally, the man turns around without a word and looks me straight in the eye, nods knowingly, smiles, and steps back into his original place. Now, I can't explain what just happened. But I realize inside of me that I just avoided a war. a war I could have had. Now, of course, later I'm sitting on the plane and I feel my mind trying to destroy the moment again. It says to me, he did try it. You didn't imagine it. And you should say something. Because people like that shouldn't be allowed to get away with things like that. I was reading the recommended book of the month, reading through it, Patience, the Art of Peaceful Living, filled up with all kinds of mindfulness practices and considerations. And in it, I came across a quote from Buddha that relates to this. I brought it along. Won't you read it with me? Overcome the angry by gentleness. Overcome the mean-spirited by kindness. Overcome the greedy by generosity. Overcome the deceiver by truth. And that resonates with me. I'm drawn to that. It's the idea of where there's darkness, let me bring light. See, my mind sometimes, under the influence of societal thinking, it behaves like an angry deceiver. And it tells me stories that are not true. Like, for example, if you put people in their place, more kindness will appear in the world. Things will be better, it tells me. It says things like, peace will come, but it will take some violence. It says to me, you know what? A little bit of hating is okay when it's justified. And so I have to regularly re-educate it and teach it to examine what my senses are reporting to me so that I don't fall for the easy, angry answer. There's a passage in the Bhagavad Gita that I love so much for guidance in this matter. Won't you read it with me? The senses are superior to matter, and mind is higher than the senses, and intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher still. To me, this is a guide for how to deal with negative thinking. It lays it out. First of all, there is the matter, the situation, the event, the person, the object. And so with my senses, I experience it, I see it, I feel it, I respond to it. But now I know that my senses by themselves cannot reveal to me the true nature of a thing. So I use my mind to think about what my senses report to me. And I begin to create meaning out of the information. But now I know that the meaning I create by itself cannot reveal the true nature of a thing to me. I have to go further. I have the option to use my understanding to evaluate the meaning that I have created, to check it. And then through practice, this way I begin to learn to see from a soul perspective through to the oneness of things, and it changes the way I engage in the world. Again, in the Gita, it says, won't you read it with me? For one who has controlled the mind, it is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, it remains the greatest of enemies. Control. Well, I think of control in the sense of quality control, like the production manager in a factory. So to me, it means monitor and inspect. Inspect the quality of what is being produced before it's being sent out into the world. Examine it. And then we can read this a different way. We can reframe it to say, for one who has inspected the mind, it becomes a friendly place. But for those who can't bother to inspect their thinking, it's not pretty in there. Maybe that's the message for today, the question. Is there adequate quality control in your mind? Or maybe it's this. This week, don't fall for the easy, angry answer. There's always another reality. Always. So for those people who started the spiritual fasting on Wednesday, that would put us on to day 5. And so I brought it along, and I brought a slide so we could read it together to launch us into our prayer practice together. Won't you join me in reading? Today I give up any resistance I might have to change. I immediately feel the fresh breath and ease of being safe at home in a sea of benevolent changes that are natural and for my benefit. And with that, I invite you to breathe in and exhale, closing your eyes, as we take a moment to confirm through our prayer that we are alive, well, creative, and beautiful inside the only existence that there is. We call that existence God or life or mind or whatever we call it. We mean the same thing, our spiritual home, the eternal universe. And so we just let that in. We take that in, we drink it in, absorb it, and feel the truth that we are at home in a universe that loves us, that we are made of that which is good and true and enduring, and we peel away everything that is unlike that so that we may live from and express our true, innocent, beautiful, lovely, creative, strong, magnificent, caring, loving, compassionate selves. This is our true nature, and we stand strong in this. Whatever the way of the world, there is nothing that can sway us from this truth. It is the rock and the foundation, our identity and truth, and we stand in it. And together we say, and so it is.